Welcome to a quick crash course on Agile and its place in the marketplace. So if you found your way to this video, you've obviously have a little bit of background, have heard some terms, Agile, Scrum, Kanban, and are trying to figure out exactly what it means, how it works, and what the roles are associated with it. So in my case, in my background, I have a background working in business analytics as well as a Scrum Master, and I've really seen Agile find its place in a lot of major companies from an IT perspective, from a business intelligence perspective, from a enterprise and data analytics perspective, as really the modern way to help push those companies forward. And so what Agile has done is it has really begun to take away some of the antiquated measures that companies use to complete major projects that took way too long, costed way too much money, and have sped them up, made teams more efficient, and thus saved companies a lot of money in the long run. So to give you a little bit of perspective on the differences between the two, you want to understand that there's a few different methodologies that have come and gone in its place. But before launching into that, I'll have Vivek introduce himself.
Yeah, we're actually huge believers in learning, and in a big way, Agile is actually about learning. Hey there, Vivek Khatri, part of the Agile coaching team. My background actually started out as a business analyst. Academically, I have a background in system engineering. And I remember getting out of college and kind of looking at the consulting field, and I was somehow able to get a business analyst job. And then I got introduced to Agile and different ways of delivering products to our customers. So at this day and age, I think there's a lot of opportunity for people with a good mindset. What's happening in Agile is, like Peter said, it's going from more of a traditional ways of going through phase gate methodologies where you collect the requirements and then you develop and then you give it to the testers and then you put it in production. Companies prefer to get value to the customer early on. They almost want to bring value to the customer on a weekly basis. And that's where they actually need talent who can think in that way, who can facilitate different team meetings, who have a little bit more of a product background, who have a little bit of skill sets on business analysis, and people who in general value more of a face-to-face communication. And then that actually is us sitting here together, but also like leveraging tools like Zoom and Skype. So there is a huge demand for people who have this mindset and who are willing to learn. Because if you look at the Agile Manifesto, it says we are uncovering better ways. That actually implies that learning is very important. And at Agile Coach, we actually talk about the doing of Agile and being of Agile. If you look at the manifesto itself, again, it is about constantly learning. So we actually help people to kind of acquire the mindset. But for somebody who's coming out of school with no software development background, we have a way to kind of give you some pro bono work just to kind of see what does product management or product development look like. And we actually teach you this frameworks. We actually teach you different methodology, and more importantly, we actually teach you why are these methodologies and frameworks in place, and how does that help companies produce value to their customer. Anything else you want to add to that?
No, I'm a tried and true student of the Agile Coach. So this video is really going to dedicate to going a little bit of an overview of what Agile is, so that you can start to get some perspective and some context into some introduction to Agile, to some of the different frameworks, to begin to lay the foundation of the mindset that it takes to really be successful, and some of the skill sets that it takes to really be successful.
Yeah.
So Vivek, in your experience, obviously you talked a little bit about the Agile Manifesto and your experience in working business analytics, Scrum Master a little bit. But for folks who are fairly new to the methodology, what is Agile?
Yeah, so the easiest way that I could explain to you is, let's say Peter and I are part of the Agile Coach company, and let's say we are a consulting company, and you need some kind of website or web application. So think about it. You as a customer, from a customer point of view, you're using a lot of different apps on your phone. If you needed a new application or a website, and we promised you that we would give you this website as you are our client, how would you like to see value in terms of that progress in the website? Would you like us to give you a lot of wireframes and pages of documentation, or would you like for us to give you some value in terms of working software on a weekly basis, right? And also, let's say you have a big project. How would you actually start that project? With Agile mindset, we are, us as consultants for your product, we would actually recommend is you actually highlight and think through what are some of the highest priority features that you want to build on this website. And you actually create a backlog, and just like any projects, you would actually say this is the most highest priority, these three are the second least priority, and we actually collaborate on almost a daily basis, and we actually look at those highest priority items, and we build a working software and we give it to you so that you can look at that software and say, I like this, I like this. I said to you that this was high priority, but I realized that was a wrong hypothesis. So let's not worry about that. Let's actually prioritize these features. So Agile software development in a lot of ways, looking at this example, it's about us actually responding to customer needs, us actually responding to producing valuable work, because you can no longer afford to hire us, or we can get paid if you're not building the right product. The other big thing about Agile is actually responding to change, because whenever you're saying that I want this, or this is my project plan, that actually implies that you're saying between now and the project completion, if anything doesn't change in the universe, then that plan is true. As soon as something changes, that plan is actually no longer useful, and you just tear that plan and you actually look at what's available. And then it's just a matter of communicating back and forth and really responding to change, so that you can actually create valuable software for your end users, and that brings some value to you, so that both parties are helpful.
Yeah, and if you don't have a strong software background, the way that I've always thought about Agile as I've gotten started is it's really the way that we go about living our lives as we take on a project. Or if your goal is, and being from St. Louis, Missouri, if your goal is to get to California and you take a wrong turn out of the driveway and you go right instead of going left, well, might end up on the East Coast. And so what happened, and you'll hear a different term called waterfall methodology, is that was really the original way that products and services were made. And so what you would do is you would spend months and months and sometimes years planning out exactly, in this scenario, how you would get to California.
Yeah.
But if you made a mistake on the first turn,
Yeah.
now the entire plan goes away.
Yeah.
And so what Agile allows you to do is it says, I made a wrong turn, let's course correct, and let's make sure that we get to our desired end state, we get to our future state that we want to create, whether it's a product, whether it's a service, whether it's a working software that you're looking to create. And so that ability to be quick, and that ability to really change and be in communication with everybody that has a hand in the product or service that's being made, allows you to make sure that you end up creating the correct product at the end. And so what was happening is companies were starting out, they'd make a wrong turn early on, and they would continue down that path. 2 years later, a service or a product or a working software would come back and it would be very far from what they were looking for. So if you don't have a strong software background, that's really how I've always thought about Agile, is it allows you, to Vivek's point, really course correct.
Yeah, and then just think from like any products, right? We were talking about Agile in context of building something, right? Whenever you're building something, you're building it for somebody or for a specific reason, so that you want to make X amount of dollars, or you want to have this customer pay for this product or a service. So whenever you're building about the product, one thing that you can understand, even though you don't come from a technology background, is there is a certain outcome that you want to achieve with this software. A lot of the times there's these two parties in Agile, the people in Agile discovery, the product management, and there's also the Agile delivery. So what do I mean by that? Let's say if you're building a software, most likely most companies want to build a software so that they can add some value and create some revenue for the company. However, when you look at Agile, software development and delivery part, it is actually assuming one thing. It's assuming that whatever you have in that backlog, or the things that you need to be done, it's assuming that that's actually a validated hypothesis, saying that if you do this, if you build this feature, the customer will come and use it. So that is on the delivery side and methodologies like Scrum and Kanban, which you can learn, and it's really good for building a product once you have those validated hypotheses on the product. One of the things that we actually talk about in the course is also not just looking at from a delivery perspective, also looking from the discovery. One of the big challenges that companies are facing in the Midwest is people are just assuming they're just writing these features that they need to be built, but they're actually assuming that these hypotheses will be true, and then they will make X amount of dollars or X amount of revenue or customer. However, it's not true. A lot of the times, whenever people are writing these requirements or writing these product features, it is based on a hypothesis. So we talk about Agile in terms of discovery, right? So you might have heard about this term called minimum viable product. One thing we actually teach in our bootcamp is how do you have a lens of building something MVP, and how can you test the hypothesis? Because if you assume certain things, you build this product, and if you can run some experiments to validate that people are actually going to use this product or not early on, then you can save companies a lot of money. I'll give you another example. Let's say a company says, hey, we want to write a book, right? So writing a book is a pretty hectic process, right? It actually takes a lot of mind, and you just have to write a lot of things, write the content, have somebody go through the content. It's a lengthy process. So when you think about an MVP, instead of putting all the time and effort to write the book, later to find out nobody wants to read the book, you can actually start by writing a few blogs on a few chapters about what you care about or the topic. So we could say that some of these blogs, by writing it and posting in, let's say, on LinkedIn or platforms like Medium, you can validate the interest of the crowd and see how many people are consuming it. You can even take it to next level. You can actually write a small ebook where the cost of creating this product is much cheaper, and you don't have all the time and money that you have to invest in terms of getting an ebook. You can simply build a landing page and see how many people will download your ebook by running a small budget of ad, and that way you can validate your hypothesis, and you can test out the demand for the product instead of writing the entire book. And maybe and then from an Agile perspective, one of the things that you get to learn is, again, it's about learning, is what are customers actually wanting. So now you're actually open to the market and you're focused on creating something that people want and people value. So think about those two things. There's a discovery process of the Agile, which is also a mindset, and then there's the delivery. And you can go through the frameworks, you can go through the methodologies, you can go through certain books and content to actually create some deep expertise in these two things, which actually makes you a really optimal candidate in the market, because that is actually a missing skill set that we see in the market, who can kind of think from a product side, but then also from a delivery side.
Yeah, and some of the things that Vivek talked about, minimum viable products, so what the Agile coach will do is really help you to get an understanding of the different terms associated with Agile. So some of the ones that you're going to hear is MVP, minimum viable product. We've thrown out Agile, Scrum, Kanban. You're going to hear different terms like sprint, product backlog, sprint backlog, development team. And so as you go through all of these, there's also several definitions and several items that the Agile coach is really going to help you understand the whole framework that it takes to really work in an Agile environment, work with the framework that the company's using. And I know for me, sometimes those terminology can get a little overwhelming at first, but understanding that, starting to really familiarize yourself with some of those different terminology and understanding what a sprint is, what a product backlog is, minimum viable product, is really the first step to understanding Scrum and understanding Agile.
Yeah, and just to kind of wrap things up for people, we actually believe everything is teachable and coachable. So these are things that different teams and companies came up with, and these are constantly being redefined, right? So it's not like coding, right? If it's coding, it's a very structured content that you have to study, and you have to keep up with those changes, and there's a master there's a master database of what it ought to be, right? Whenever we're talking about agile and the mindset and the framework, it actually really, there's no one silver bullet that will solve the problem. It actually really depends on what kind of teams, what kind of product you're building, in what context, and also in what time, because a lot of the content that was created 5 years ago around how the product should be delivered or how we should run experiments are very different than what you can do today, because there are a lot of tools and softwares that will actually allow you to experiment or build something really fast and get to the market in this day and age. So these things are constantly changing. So one thing that we need is somebody with the growth mindset, somebody who's willing to say, well, I see all these concepts are here. These things are, you can learn it. And one of the big thing that we value in these roles is just your facilitation skills. Those are your soft skills, and also you being able to receive coaching and to lead some kind of coaching conversation where you can communicate what you mean by certain things in the work context. Last thing is just the roles, right? So what are the different kind of roles we're talking about in this space? We have a business analyst, we have a scrum master, we have a product owner. What else?
Development team,
and a data analyst. So what we focus on preparing or helping people is the non-coding side of the roles, because the business analyst, the product owner, scrum master, and agile coaching, these roles are very open-ended right now. Different companies are looking for different skill sets, different set of experiences. We actually know some of the companies actually prefer newer talent. So then these roles, or these people who come into the organization, they don't have any previous project management experience, where they are kind of fresh learners, and it's much easier for them to learn the new company culture and company's ways of developing products. Some of them will require some experience. But the main thing is, Scrum Master is more of a facilitator role, somebody who actually really can specialize on Scrum framework and bring some expertise around the facilitation and kind of educating the team about different different events and artifacts that Scrum recommends. However, it's more than just that. When companies are looking for a Scrum Master, they might also look for somebody with some business analysis skills. What do I mean by business analysis skills? We just means being able to talk to the end user and being able to understand what the customer might need. Somebody with the skill set to communicate with other teams within the organization and be able to resolve some impediments. Somebody who can facilitate cross-team planning sessions. So that's the Scrum Master role, and you can kind of deep dive and learn what the Scrum Master does. But it's a very prescribed role. You can go to scrumguides.com and actually read the roles of Scrum Master. The product owner role is obviously somebody who's kind of defining what the product ought to be, or what are some things that we should do next, and kind of giving the priority to the development team on what needs to be built on. And obviously there's a lot more you need to learn about what a product owner does, and how to build expertise around product ownership. And maybe I'll have Peter talk about more of a business analyst role.
Yeah, and so understand, as you look at these roles, is that the whole goal is to be a self-organizing team. What Agile really promotes is that what the old methodology in this type of environment is you had a very defined role of what you did. You didn't do anything outside of that. You lived within the guardrails of what your job description was. And so understand that as you onboard that, one of the big things is to be a self-starter. And so understanding that you are going to wear many different hats, and that's really what Agile promotes, is it allows that you on a team can wear many different hats at any given time. And so where business analysis comes in is it can either be one of two things on a team. Is number one, it can be a fully defined role, or number two is it can be a defined mindset. So no matter what, if you break down the term, you're really somebody who analyzes the business. And so I know that's a very oversimplification, but what you're doing is you're looking at possible, as a new product is rolling out, we use the example of an app. What is everything, why is the business creating this? So you're the one who's really wearing the question asking hat. So this could be played by the development team, this could be played by the Scrum Master, this could be played by the product owner or the business analyst. So what this individual is very good at, or what this mindset is really about, is being able to ask the right questions to get the right answers so that you can move forward in the development of what you're creating. And so asking the why questions. Why is this valuable to our business? Why are we creating this? What do we need to create? How are we creating it? What individuals are going to be involved? Now you can go very much deeper, which is going to be later on in the Agile Coach, about how to get more technical and take that a little bit deeper and asking the right technical questions. But the mindset behind it is asking the right questions so that you can get the right answers to help move it forward. And so really understanding that you're going to be helping alongside the Scrum Master to remove impediments for the development team as they come up against a wall where they need some further analysis to be done. They need questions to be answered so that they can move forward.
Yeah. So one thing that you said is self-organizing team. So that's actually a pretty deep skill set that even as a business analyst you can develop because there is a lot of preparation and thoughtfulness and thinking that goes into enabling a self-organizing team. So that's something that we will actually coach you and train you in the boot camp. The other thing that comes to my mind is big concept, shared understanding. One of the things that's happening is we're going from creating a lot of documentation and just documenting a lot of things to creating shared understanding among the team. So more and more conversation. So that's where, like you said, Peter, asking the right question in the right time in the right context is actually the key. And that's actually a really important role of a business analyst is by asking those questions and by enabling those conversations among the team who's building the product so that everybody is on the same page. You can create this shared understanding because of which there's no need for 100-page documentation and nobody likes to read documentation, right? A lot of these ideas, when people talk through it, so if you think about the documentation, it's just one way. I hear something, I just write it, right? Versus whenever you're talking on the team, people have different ideas, people have different questions. So then, if you're an agile team, you're harnessing people's creativity and capacity to the fullest because it's not just one person's opinion, a senior developer's opinion on how things should be, and that's how what's get documented, and people just kind of assume certain things and build something out. And towards the end, when the product is ready, because really not a lot of thinking and creativity went into that feature or a product, people are not excited about it. So that's that. And also the other thing is cross-functional team. So in Agile, there's a concept called cross-functional team. What it means is there are no role specializations. So a business analyst might also do some quality testing job. So let's say you're building up a website or a web application. I'm not saying I'm only writing requirements, right? So there's obviously the development team, there's a Scrum Master, and there's a product owner. Obviously, the product owner role is very specified. They're actually working on kind of defining what the team needs to do and writing out, acceptance criteria on when these features will be done, and leading these conversation with the team and kind of going back and forth between the stakeholders and the customer and really representing them and kind of being the point of communication between the team and the customer. Scrum Master is obviously a facilitator role. They're removing impediments. They're facilitating meetings in the way where things are productive and everybody's voice is heard. And in the development team, business analyst or quality analyst or data analyst or database administrator, they all fall into the development team, where it's sort of everybody's a development team. Everybody's kind of doing whatever needs to be done for the team to move the product further. And that's something very important to keep in mind. That's the reason why it's important to learn all different kind of skill sets and not just say, I'm a business analyst, I'm only going to gather requirements.
Yeah, and so once you've developed these skill sets, once you've started to really understand, and once you've gone through the coursework, gotten the different certifications, where the Agile coach will take that is to help you go to the marketplace.
100%.
And so where a lot of individuals and where a lot of companies are doing right now is they're training current project managers, they're training their current teams to become Scrum Masters, to become product owners. And so what is happening is they're using sort of an old methodology and trying to blend it into the new methodology. And what the Agile coach is saying is let's go out, let's learn the methodology from the ground up, build the right foundation, and now once you have the certifications, once you have the understanding of things, that's where all of the prep to go to market comes in. And so some of those items are interview preparation, writing a good resume.
Yep.
Writing being able to go in and knowing the things to do once you get into an interview, how to properly take an interview, how to properly, onboard a new job, and how to properly negotiate a new starting job.
Yeah.
And so that is the full package that the Agile coach really offers.
Yeah, definitely. Check out our book, 8 Steps to Becoming a Scrum Master. Even though it's geared towards Scrum Master, we have kind of captured the different roles and how and what of the Scrum team and Kanban team, and what are different steps you can take to start to think about preparing for a Scrum Master or an Agile Business Analyst role. Highly recommend that. And we actually also have a self-guided course that we're going to actually put a link below that you can go through and kind of do a little bit more digging in and understand these roles in details and events and how to perform different roles. And overall, what we've done is we've kind of created a platform to just really support people who are interested in going into Agile roles from end to end, from like starting and learning to giving them some pro bono work, providing them some coaching experience. Mm-hmm. So then there's some aha moments. So it's not just teaching experience. Mm-hmm. And then obviously kind of giving coaching advice and mentoring on the resume preparation. And also we have within our team, we have people who can help you with salary negotiation and obviously making some connections in Midwest cities if you want to try out for interviews for some of the companies.
Yeah.
So yeah, with that, download the ebook and also enroll into the Agile Masterclass course. It will give you a lot more information about what are the next steps and to kind of help you deepen the understanding. With that,
look forward to learning with you.